Good morning, everyone. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have roll call, please, Lana?
Supervisor McGlasson?
Here.
Councilwoman Campbell?
Present.
Councilman Tempori?
Here.
Councilman Ruthven?
Here.
Councilman Boyd?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Okay. I make a motion to open the public hearing for
Second.
for the soil removal and excavation law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do you want to handle this one?
Yeah. All right, so we had originally had the public hearing open for public comment and then extended it for written comment. We did get a request to extend the written comment a little bit, and thus, having to do that, we're going to extend the mining moratorium so we can allow some additional time for written comment on it. We're not going for the 6-month period. I think, I didn't read the whole thing, but I think we're only holding it open for.
We actually have to discuss how long we want to hold it open for.
Okay.
I don't know what everyone's thoughts are on that.
I would like to hold it open at least till our next meeting, if not the meeting after, but what does council think about that?
You're saying the length of time you're going to hold open for written comment?
Yeah, we want to extend the moratorium for a shorter period of time. We've been doing 6-month increments. But
For
I think
written comment only.
for written comment only, correct.
So the written comment only, I would certainly suggest that, you give at least 2 weeks. If the next meeting, I know the first Tuesday falls, I think the day after Labor Day, so I don't know if you're holding it on the 11th, I think is the next Tuesday thereafter. You can certainly keep it open till that date, and that gives a little bit extra time before you formally close it, so that everyone has that time, and there's a set time without any confusion of when the written
All
comment
right, so
period is
just to
closing.
walk through the process, if we leave open the additional time for written comment, and that gets us to the 11th, correct? But the moratorium would have to be a period of time after that, which today we're making a public hearing to extend the moratorium.
You're scheduling the public hearing to extend the moratorium today.
Yes.
I would suggest your moratorium, you can extend your moratorium for 3 months, you can extend it for 6 months if you feel that it's no longer needed because you passed your regulations, you can always end the moratorium at that point in
Okay,
time.
so the time period on the moratorium, if we think we're going to end shorter, the moratorium will go away once we pass all of
Yes, yeah, you can end it
Okay.
It's better
earlier.
to have the time than
That's
to
correct.
not.
Okay.
The only suggestion I would have about the written comment, if you close it the day of the public hearing, you might not necessarily have that time to review all the written comments. So if you close it, let's say a week before the next meeting, then you'll have that week at least to review any written comments that are received. Anything, if you close it on the 11th, the day that's the last day people can submit a written comment, then you can get comments on the 11th and you really haven't had time to review
So I understand, so
those.
we would want to close it the week before the 11th.
That would be my suggestion.
All right, so what's that?
So wait, so we're here. It's our next town board meeting.
It's September 5th.
Then there's the 19th, so I don't know.
So then the 19th. So if we close
we
it on
can
the
close
12th or the 11th.
Right.
Close it
And
on
then-
September 11th, and our next board meeting after that would be the 19th.
And it
Yes.
gives us a week, a little
Okay.
over a week.
All right.
Okay.
But in addition to making changes, then there also has to be time when the final document is available on everyone's desk, right? How long is that time period, Lana?
I always thought 5, but Nancy said at the last meeting 10 days.
So
10
then-
days for substantive changes, so anything, changing wording that's not, wouldn't be considered substantive, but if there is major changes to the local law, then you would need to give that time for everyone to be able to review those substantive changes.
Okay.
But we have the option of extending for 3 months on the moratorium, right? Which would give us time to
Correct.
work through
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to propose that we do that at least for 3 months.
So I'm just
I
trying to,
know. Do you want the calendar?
I wrote down so be it within the local, be introduced by myself. Proposed local, 7:00 p.m. on
September 19th?
September 19th. Okay,
Do we then still need a special meeting on the 29th?
I don't believe so.
Yes, we do, right? To
Oh, yeah, 'cause that's gonna be the
To vote
open-
on extension.
Right.
Okay.
So today we're opening the public hearing for the extension.
Today, you're scheduling the public
We're
hearing for the
scheduling the
extension.
public hearing for the extension.
And the special meeting will still be on the 29th of August.
Yeah, we'll hold the special meeting on the 29th.
Okay.
All right, so is everybody good on this resolution? Is there any public comment on this resolution before I read it?
Everything you need?
I'm not sure why I got these two different things.
Let's see what we have here.
This was the original.
It's the one on the back of the agenda, right?
Yeah, that's the one I'm going to read. It's a short one at least. The other ones are long. I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution introducing local law, Lana,
We're gonna leave it blank.
of 2023 and providing for public notice and hearing. Be it resolved, a local law extending a temporary land use moratorium prohibiting mining within the town of Kent is hereby introduced by Chris Ruthven as an introductory local law to be determined of the year 2023 before the town board of the town of Kent in the county of Putnam and state of New York, and be it further resolved that copies of the aforesaid proposed local law, which is attached hereto, be laid upon the desk of each member of the board. Be it further resolved that the town board will hold a public hearing on said proposed law at the town hall in the town of Kent, New York at 7:00 p.m. on September 19th. And be it,
Wait, isn't it,
No, August 29th,
oh,
August 29th.
that's the August 29th. And be it further resolved that the town clerk publish or cause to be published a public notice in the official newspaper of the town of Kent of said public hearing at least 10 days prior hereto. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're all good. Okay. First item. Oh,
I have one question. So, the law that you have attached, that we're having a public hearing, says 6 months. Are we changing that to 3? Or are we keeping it at 6?
I don't think it, from what I understand, we can leave it at 6 because it's
Just
not
wanna
going
make
to
sure
matter.
We can always end it early.
Yeah, we can end it early. That was my question.
Okay,
Was
so
it
we're gonna
does-
leave
Are we
it
tied
at
to that in any way?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
So that extends the moratorium, but do we also have to extend the open submission for questions?
Yes, so you have currently your public hearing on the soil removal and excavation law is still open. You're going to continue it until September, and you're going to give an additional time frame in which to submit written comments. So I think that you were trying to determine the date on which you want written comments submitted.
But we need 10 days between the meeting and, okay, so then if.
So it's got to go 10
the
days, not 7
19th,
days.
Right, so
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
The 5th. We're going to extend it to September 5th then.
September 5th.
For written public comment. Do we have a resolution on that?
I don't know, Jamie, something over.
No, I don't think we put together a resolution.
I'd like to make a motion to extend written comment for the soil removal and excavation law until September 5th. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're all good?
Yeah, we're all good
Okay.
on that. I think, Jamie, we're all good on
Yes,
that.
yes.
We can go past that now. Thank
Okay.
you.
Our next item on the agenda, our first item, is for the Lake Carmel Park District Clerk. We would like to install a window in her office. We went out, we tried to get 3 bids, we received 2 back. The lowest bid being Jim Liebler for the amount of $4,800, and I ask that we approve that today. Any board comments?
Well, I hope the board will support this. This was one of my, I spent a lot of time in there with Heidi, and I said to her one day, I go, you don't have a window outside. You're literally sitting in a box, and you can't get any fresh air. And I said, if you go out and get bids, I'll try to convince the board to get you a window. So I hope you'll support this. She said, it's been a long time coming, the poor girl.
I feel like you're in a
sits there.
closet. That's why it feels like. She does have a picture on her wall
Yeah,
that
she's
looks
got
like you're outside, so
a
that
fake
you.
window picture, doesn't let too much fresh air.
No,
in.
it doesn't. All right, any public comment? Okay. Someone want to read the
Sure.
resolution?
Make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the installation of a window in the Lake Carmel Park District office, whereas the town of Kent has received a request dated August 2nd, 2023, from Heidi Link, the Lake Carmel Park District Clerk, requesting the installation of a window at the Lake Carmel Park District office, the LCPD. And whereas in accordance with the town's procurement policy, the town obtained proposals from businesses which provide this service and received 2 written proposals in response to such requests, copies of which are annexed here too, and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas Jim Liebler, Inc. has submitted the lowest proposal in the amount of $4,800, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to accept the proposal submitted by Jim Liebler, Inc., now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the proposal of Jim Liebler, Inc. to install a window at the LCPD office for the price set forth on the proposed annexed hereto, and be it therefore resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I hereby make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to ask that we just move up the other Lake Carmel Park District. I put them on, I put 2 separate things on here twice.
Is that the end?
Yeah, so I'm just going to move it up now since we're on Lake Carmel Park District. Our lifeguard supervisor, Jim Garbarino, is asking us to hire 2 guards to help us finish out the summer. We're losing a lot of college kids, and in order to keep the beaches open, we need to have a couple more lifeguards to finish the season. So I'm asking to hire Jeremy Smith and Ashley Weber.
All right, one of them was a returning lifeguard and one of them's a
He
new
was injured
lifeguard.
and he couldn't work all summer, and now he can work again, so.
All right.
Any public comment on the lifeguards?
Want to do this one, Sean?
I see the one from the
I got it right
beginning.
here. I make a motion to pass a resolution to hire Lake Carmel Park District lifeguards, whereas the town of Kent is seeking to fill 2 summer positions of lifeguards in the Lake Carmel Park District, and whereas James Garbarino, the LCPD lifeguard supervisor, has recommended the hiring of Jeremy Smith and Ashley Weber as shown in the email dated August 16th, 2023, annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference for the remainder of the 2023 season, and whereas the town board desires to accept the recommendation of Mr. Garbarino, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring as further detailed and annexed on the annexed email for the remainder of the 2023 season at the rates described herein, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The planning board is asking us to accept an erosion control bond in the amount of $3,900 and an inspection fee in the amount of $1,000 from the owners of property located at 26 Gray Oaks Court in Kent. It was approved unanimously at their last board meeting, and they're just asking us to accept these 2 bonds. Any comment?
I can read if you want.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution accepting erosion control surety bond and escrow for inspection fee. Whereas the Planning Board, by Resolution Number 8 of the year 2023, dated August 2nd, 2023, has recommended that the Town Board accept 1, an erosion control bond in the amount of $3,900, and 2, inspection fees in the amount of $1,000 from the owner of the property located at 26 Gray Oaks Court, Kent, New York, 10512, as shown on the Town of Kent tax map as 33.41-1-14. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the recommendations as set forth in the Planning Board Resolution Number 8 of the year 2023, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the recommendations of the Planning Board that an erosion control bond and inspection fee escrow be accepted from the owner of 26 Gray Oaks Court as set forth above. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we're going to also move up the other planning board item. They are asking us to appoint 2 members, Kathy Doherty as an alternate member, and if there's 2. And Mr. Marini as, to fill the vacant position that's on the planning board. Any comments on that? Kathy? Okay.
We better do a roll call vote on this one. All right. Good?
Yep.
I make a motion to pass a resolution appointing a member and an alternate member to the planning board, whereas there is currently a vacancy on the Town of Kent Planning Board, and whereas by resolution number 10 of the planning board dated August 7th, 2023, said board has recommended that the vacant position be filled by Richard Marini, who has been serving as an alternate member to the planning board, and whereas the town board wishes to appoint Mr. Marini to fill the unexpired term of Phil Tomac, said term to expire on December 31st,
2025.
2025. And whereas the appointment of Mr. Marini as planning board member results in a vacancy in the position of alternate member on the planning board, and whereas by resolution number 9 of the planning board dated August 7th, 2023, said board has recommended appointing Kathy Doherty as alternate member of the planning board, and whereas the town board wishes to appoint Mrs. Doherty consistent with the planning board recommendations, now therefore be it resolved that Richard Marini be appointed member of the planning board to fill unexpired term of Phil Tomac until December 31st, 2025, and be it further resolved that Kathy Doherty be appointed an alternate member of the planning board. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We're back to
Yep,
municipal
we're good, yep.
repairs.
Our next item on the agenda is our municipal repairs is asking us to hire a mechanic to fill the open position. He would like us to hire Jason Belenis to fill the position of mechanic. Any comments? Someone want to read it?
Sure. I make a motion to adopt a resolution to hire a mechanic for the town of Kent Municipal Repairs, whereas there is an open position of mechanic in the town of Kent Municipal Repairs Department, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent has interviewed Jason Rush Blennis and believes that he has the necessary qualifications to fill said position, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to hire Jason Rush Blennis as full-time mechanic for the Municipal Repairs Department, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring of Jason Rush Blennis as mechanic in the Municipal Repairs Department, subject to any and all required background checks and pre-employment drug screening, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Assessor.
There's no backup because we're just, so our next item is from the assessor. We went out to bid for the reassessment, and we only received one bid back, and it was very vague and was not what we were looking for. So I'm asking for the board to reject the bids and to vote to re-advertise, to go back out to bid.
Okay.
It was just too, the one bid was just way too broad to even think about accepting it.
Is there a resolution for that one?
I think we might have missed it.
Okay. I make a motion to authorize the supervisor to go out, go back out.
Have to reject.
To reject the bid for the reassessment and to authorize to go back out to bid. Make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item is for the easement for Sunbury Properties LLC. Jamie, do you want to take over this one?
Sure. So this is a matter that there was a presentation before you a number of months ago on. I actually believe it might have been before 2023. It might have been before the start of the new year. This is the property that adjoins the Kent Town Hall directly behind us. And the owner of the property does not have driveway street access because of various topographical features of the property, including wetlands. A number of years ago, a contract vendee on the property had come before this board requesting an easement over the land where the Kent Recycling Center has their facilities in order to access the property and develop the property.
Thought I turned that off. Sorry about that.
And
He knows I don't know how to use a phone.
not a problem. And at that time, the town and the county had gone through the process of approving that easement, and the reason I bring up the county is because there is the property where the Kent Recycling Center sits initially was owned by the county, and when it was deeded to the town, it had a reversionary interest that said that if the town wasn't using it for town purposes, then it would revert back to the county, but the county had the right to waive that interest, and we had to go in front of the county for written approval of that. So back in, I believe it was 2018, that easement was approved for the contract vendee of the property, and the new owner of the property had recently come before the town and requested the same easement arrangement. That matter has now gone before the county, and they have agreed to waive their interest in the easement with certain minor changes to the easement agreement, one of the main ones being that the development of the property would not be for residential purposes, which the owner of the property has agreed to and has continually said that would not be the development of it. This is not for actual development at this time. This easement is just granting the easement so that the property owner can do what they need in order to find a developer for the property, advertise it, come up with a plan for the development of a property that would need to be consistent with our zoning code. They would have to then get all of the approvals for the development of the property. But what this easement is for is granting them their potential access so they can do that. There's also an agreement for a swap of land essentially between the town and the developer in order to give the town a smooth line at the back of our property here, because there is like a cutout that hasn't been beneficial to the town, and we would have access over the drive when it is eventually installed to have further access to the town of Kent property that they will be getting in exchange for the land that's being swapped. I know that the developer is here tonight, not the developer, the owner of the property is here tonight with his counsel and engineer, but they did give a presentation on this matter a number of months ago and has not changed since that point in time.
Do you want to do public comment
Yeah.
first? Okay. Any public comment?
My name is George.
Can you have to come up to the microphone.
My name is George Baum. I've been a resident of Kent for about 27 years, and I've been quite active in the community, which I would like very briefly to describe. But I would like to explain that I'm concerned with any actions that may have an impact on the operation of the Kent Recycle Center. In the 27 years that I've been here, I've been a volunteer with the Kent Recycle Center very shortly since I moved here. I've been a volunteer from the time they were in the fire station and rescue, and then finally over here. And I eventually turned my job over to younger people who have more physical capability. I got involved in a Kent Conservation Advisory Committee. I was chairman for some 13 years, 13 lucky years. I eventually became involved, because I was chairman of the CAC, I became a member of the Putnam County Environmental Management Council, and after a year or two of serving there, I became chairman of that also for about 6 years. So I've been quite active, and I care a lot for the operation of the town, and it's and particularly the Recycle Center. My concerns, I have a number of questions about this easement, and first of all, Jim Baker, who unfortunately, he and his wife Wilma, who is no longer with us, were extraordinarily active in setting up the whole Recycle Center and required extensive negotiations with DEP. The access road that's in question now was granted by DEP a special permit because the culvert the roadway passed over a culvert, which is considered wetland. And so it seems to me that DEP needs to be involved at very least to let them know that there is going to be a change in the use of that particular access road. It's possible also that the state, DEC, will also have some interest in the change of the operation of that access road. And I have not heard of any discussions concerning what the impact might be on the operation of the Kent Recycle Center. As you know, Saturday is a very busy day for the center, a lot of traffic. And I have no idea what Sunbury will be doing and what kind of trucks they might be using. There must be a weight limit on the road. And I also wonder legally if there should be a public hearing on granting an easement of public land to a private party. So I don't know if there's been any consideration of that. The discussions between the town and the Kent Recycle Center as to what the agreements are between them, how they operate, and what rights they have to the property is probably buried in town records. And I don't know if they would have any bearing on this, but I do have a concern about the impact on the operation of the Kent Recycle Center. I hope it would not lead to the Recycle Center having to access the center through the main entry to the town property, and maybe vice versa. Perhaps you'd consider having Sunbury access their property through the main town access road, which is obviously bigger and is two ways and would accommodate larger vehicles and trucks. So I have a number of questions, and the biggest one, of course, is the impact on the operation of the recycle center. I mean, that's really that simple. And I have not heard any discussion about what they would be doing, what traffic they would have, what their days of operation might be, which of course can change at any time. Would we have to approve those changes in their traffic flow and the types of trucks and so on? So there are a lot of issues here. Now, I don't think it's a simple granting of an easement, and I think we need to give it very careful consideration. Thank you.
So if I can respond to some of the questions. At this point in time, there isn't a development planned for the land. So it's not that the granting of this easement isn't going to mean that trucks and vehicles are going to be going over that drive. That will be a whole process. That will be public hearings before the planning board. That'll be likely a public hearing before the town board, because they will likely be seeking to be in the business overlay district, where hours of operation, traffic, additions and improvements to that drive are proposed, and all of those things would be at the expense of the developer. The easement specifically says they cannot interfere with the operation of the recycling center. So if they're going to put in an operation back there that's going to be having traffic come through that would interfere, they would have to propose alternatives in order to effectuate allowing the recycling centers to continue their operations without interfering with them. So it's not, those things will be addressed. DEC, DEP, all of those things will be addressed, timing, traffic, when there is a plan for the development of the actual parcel. This is really the first step in a process that's going to be 10 steps at a minimum before they're at a point where there's going to be actual traffic going over that easement area.
I'd first like to make a personal plea. Since this center opened, the acoustics in this room are horrible. You may hear very well what you're saying, but I don't know about the other people, but I myself have a great deal of difficulty following the conversations. I commend Ann for speaking clearly, loudly, and relatively slowly. But if you speak rapidly and you don't even talk to the microphone, the message just does not get through. And I'm sure what you have to say is important. And so I look forward to hearing every word. The other is it possible that this agreement could be temporary, pending the resolution of all these issues that need to be discussed?
The reason that this easement has come in front of us now as opposed to in the future is because the site essentially having no access or no agreement for access, you can't get a developer in there to develop the site. That's why this is like the first step in a many-step process. As I indicated, all of that development will be public, there will be multiple public hearings on it, and the future developer will have to show the town that this is not going to interfere with the use of the recycling center. They'll have to show traffic, they're going to have to show improvements to that road to handle trucks if there's going to be trucks. And they're going to have to show a use that's consistent with the zoning code.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Good morning. My name is Cliff Narby. I live at 120 Nimham Road, and my late wife and I bought that property in 1989. A couple of years later, we met the Bakers and became members of the recycling center. I was a volunteer for some years, and I'm currently an active member. But like George, I'm 80, so I've, run out of physical power to do the work there. I'm concerned about this matter because it's come up before. When I don't remember the dates exactly, but certainly in around 2005, 2006, when the late Arnie Nordstrom was the supervisor, he tried to do a behind closed doors deal, which is very similar to this. And the public activity in response to that caused the deal to fall through. But in doing a lot of the research at the time, which unfortunately I haven't kept, and my 80-year-old brain is losing its cognitive ability, but I remember that we found that the owner of the property, the one that's the subject of this proposed easement, also owned two other properties that are adjacent to it. And all three of them are landlocked. They have no access through Bowen Road. They can't access it through 52 because the town owns that strip of land, and there is that culvert there which is subject to New York City DEP regulation. So I'm curious to know if the current board is aware that by conferring this easement to the current owner of the property, you're going to raise the value of that property considerably. At the moment, it's landlocked, it has no access, it can't be developed, so its value is impaired. But if you grant them this easement, that will significantly increase the value. So I ask if you're aware of that. And if you are, whether or not you might consider, in the interest of the town, making a more lucrative arrangement for the town by granting this easement. If the property is developed, and it would be wonderful if it could be, because maybe it could be like the iPark up in Dutchess, and we could have a lot of good-paying jobs here, not trucks and trailers and contractors going in and out, as was previously approved in 2018, but good technical, high-paying jobs possibly. But maybe the town can, deal with Sunbury in such a way that the town gets a part interest in any development in the future. I also, when we went through this in 2005 or 2006, whenever it was early on, all three properties had an individual named Vincent Cappelletti who was the owner and CEO of those properties. I'm wondering if you've done any research on Sunbury, to, who they are. Is it a New York State corporation, LLC? Is Mr. Capoletti involved in any way with it? So those are my questions. And of course, I echo George's concerns about the operation of the recycling center. I mean, at the presentation that Sunbury made earlier about this, they talked about putting an access lane on Route 52. I don't know how the heck you're going to do that. There isn't enough room. And I think the last thing we want is a whole line of cars or vehicles trying to get into that property when it's in operation as the recycling center. Anyway, thanks for the opportunity. I hope you'll consider my remarks.
Just one comment. Of course, the town can't take a direct interest in the development of the parcel and what's going on the parcel as far as like a business interest, but for a tax perspective, if the parcel is developed, then it is going to be assessed at a higher value, and it does bring tax revenue into the town.
Hi, Julie Boyd, 1054 Route 52. And actually, I'm not a member of recycling, but I am a business owner. And I do, business owners make decisions that's what they do. They make decisions. If you buy a landlocked piece of property, offered to buy the town of Kent piece of property that's along 52, you go negotiate with DEP and DEC on how to make your own access road. As a business owner, I find it worries me when government gets involved in benefiting another business over another business. If they want an access road, let's see what they're going to bring to the town of Kent first as a business opportunity. Then we can deal with this. And also, you're referring back to a letter in 2018. Jamie is the only board member that's currently on the board that signed that letter. If you wanted this board should have then signed a new letter. It's a totally different board. It's a totally different town. Since 2018, a lot of things have changed here. And I guess I'm a little confused. Are you representing the town or are you representing Sunbury? Because I'm not questioning your ethics. It's a little mucky here. Because I understand you're giving the history, but from an outsider listening in, it's a little confusing. So, and I do actually agree with the last gentleman. If we're going to do something, let's make it a benefit to us, the town. This shouldn't be something given away. This is a value. These people have worked hard. I knew the Bakers. Mrs. Baker called our house one day when we were fighting for sidewalks to ask who was going to shovel in front of the recycling center. And we're like, well, if we get a sidewalk to the recycling center, we'll come down and shovel it. But these people have given their lives and their investment in making this community have value, have things of value. And I think you're giving away the store, people. Sorry.
Hello. My name is John Neff. I've been a Kent resident for 46 years now. I've been a Kent resident for 46 years now. I'm a volunteer at the Recycle Center. And I just wonder how many board members have actually gone up there and looked at what you're planning on voting on. I know Ann Campbell comes up all the time, but I haven't seen the rest of you. Have any of you actually walked up there and looked at what you're voting on? All right. I, on occasion, actually go down to where you're talking about and open up the gate. It's classified as a wetland area, not because of plants that are growing there, but there's actually running water on both sides of that driveway, that entranceway. And I heard rumors that you're going to extend that. You're going to widen it. If that's the case, you're going to be working in a wetland area. Do you have to get a permit for that, to do that? And if you're going to have to go through the permit process, why not just make a brand-new driveway? Go whole hog. Don't interrupt the operation of the recycle center to accommodate a landowner. Let the landowner go through the permit process and build his own driveway. Because you can't just widen that area without interrupting the wetland. The actual, right now, it's probably a river because of all the rain we had. But I was amazed how much water is on both sides. If you're facing 52, the left side of that driveway, it is a stream. It's not, like I said, it's not just plants that are growing there. The other point is, no government funding put that driveway in, that access point. Research was done, George mentioned, all the, I work with Howard Carpenter. I'm sure you all know Howard Carpenter. He told me that they had 2 PhDs, 2 people with PhDs, go through the process of permitting that, getting the construction done. So I don't know if they're still with us, but it took a lot to get that put in. There was no government funding involved in that. It was either the members paid for that or they got donations for that done. And now what you're doing is you're essentially penalizing a few of the taxpayers of Kent who did participate in funding that. You're not putting it out that, okay, we'll get this funding from the tax rolls. But you are penalizing the people who did pay for that by allowing other use. So I want you to think about that, and I would suggest that we've had people, matter of fact, another point, you said that the developer can't come up there. That gate's not locked. Anybody can walk in. I've seen people walk in, it may have been the owners, but they come on the property looking to where this development is supposed to be. And I went up and I asked them, I says, you know, can I help you? And they said, oh no, and they left. So there's no, at any time, anybody can come on that property. They can't get into buildings, but they can come on the property and look at what they want to do. So there is no restrictions to somebody coming up there to look at what they want to do. Okay, so just things to think about before you vote. All right? And if you didn't know about the water on both sides, I would suggest you come up there and take a peek at it. Because right now, with all the rain we had, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, thank you.
I forgot to ask when I was here before, is there a copy of the memorandum of understanding available for the public to see? It wasn't on the website as part of the meeting documents. You have it?
Yes, it's not in the backup.
No.
You can get that on the website.
Yeah. And just for clarity's purpose, the memorandum of understanding is specifically pertaining to the lots, the switch of the areas of land that are involved. So I think it's approximately 4 acres that the town owns, that's a cutout being swapped for about 6.5 acres that the owner of the back parcel owns, that is more towards the recycling center.
But also there are clauses in there about the recycling center, the impact and so forth, that I think would be beneficial to have available.
Yes.
Any other public comment?
Sorry, Paul. Susan Kotzer. I live in the town of Kent. I am
the chairperson of the commission of the County Recycling Center, and I only got notice of this agenda item at 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. That gave me 3 business hours to get together by phone, email, texting, to gather some people here to defend our road. I even text Jamie McGlasson, and I asked if there would be representatives here from the property owner, and she said yes. Jamie Spillane will be here at the meeting, as well as representative for the landowner. The meeting will be televised in the courtroom. So even the county legislature attorney questioned whether Jamie is representing the town or the property owner. I really don't call this open government. This is not transparent. For me to get an email yesterday, not even from our liaison, no contact whatsoever. Part of this resolution, it says Sunbury or its successor in interest will grant to the town an access easement over the town parcel to be conveyed to Sunbury or its successor in interest for access to the existing town property. I'm confused that now Sunbury is giving us, the town, access. There's a lot of stuff going on here. The property is also zoned residential. Has it been rezoned for commercial overlay? Is there anything in the process? Because how can you sell a property for commercial if it's residential? The DEC, the DEP, the CEQA review should be redone. The DOT studies should be done about roads, turning lanes. Will there be a traffic light? Before an easement is granted, this should all be done ahead of time. I've said this stuff over a million times at legislative meetings and here, and I'm sure you're really tired of listening to it, as so was the legislature, as they said, that they've heard it all before and just move it forward. And I'm not ready to move it forward, and neither should you. So I think this needs to go to a public hearing, whatever needs to be done. I only got notice 3 business hours. The public, the town does not know anything about this going on, only this room and the people on TV. Thank you for your time. Oh, one other thing. I have a petition signed with 90, no, it's more than that. It's 197 signatures, which I'll give to Lana. And if you can make a copy and then return it to me.
Can I sign it? Can I sign it?
Did you sign it? No. I'll get you another one.
So I just want to make clear, I represent the town board. I've represented the town board in every aspect of this matter. We actually have met with the recycling center before going to the county legislator to see if there was any items that they would like included in this. The property is zoned residential, but the town has a business overlay district that can be applied for by an applicant who is in the, I believe it's in the R80 zoning district where this property is located. That business overlay district has certain light commercial activities that can happen on a parcel if it is approved by the town board. Before there could be development on this parcel, in addition to planning board, potentially zoning board, they would have to apply to the town board to be in the business overlay district and provide their use of the property, what it would be. So there's numerous checks and balances that are going to happen before development of this property. When there is a plan for the development of property, they will have to go through any wetlands requirements, DEP, DEC, and they would have to operate and maintain that easement area. So in addition to improving it in any way that needs to be improved, they would have to maintain it going forward. So it would shift the burden of maintaining that area from the town, the recycling center, to the owner of the parcel.
A question, who will be doing the construction of the road?
There's not a plan for the development of the parcel as of yet. So that when there is a plan for the development, that's when those type of questions will be answered. And there will have to be a specific plan for the road. There will have to be engineering done. They won't just be able to come in and start putting things down in a wetland or on a road. It's going to be highly regulated and governed as it goes forward.
But the easement, if it's granted, will the property owner do the development, or will it be passed on to a new owner to do the development of the road? That's where it gets a little sketchy. I still don't understand that.
Well, the property owner's attorney is here. She's
All right,
Ms.
I'll let Jennifer.
Gray. She's.
Good morning, Supervisor McGlasson, members of the town board. Thank you very much for your time this morning in considering this request for an easement and also the memorandum of understanding for the land swap. My name is Jennifer Gray. I'm a partner with the law firm of Keene & Bean in White Plains. I'm also joined here today. I'm seeing from Ann to slow down, and I do remember this gentleman's comment to speak slowly and clearly, so I will try to remember to do that. If anybody can't hear me, please let me know, and I will try to speak more clearly, loudly, and slowly. I am joined here today by another partner from Keene & Bean, Rick O'Rourke, also the property owner, Sunbury Properties. The representative is Stephen Hoare. He is the managing member of the LLC. And I'm also joined here today by Jamie Lojudice from Insight Engineering. First, I want to respond to a couple of the public comments that we did hear this morning. But first and foremost, I want to thank Jamie for her summarization of the facts. For clarity's purposes, Jamie does represent the town. Obviously, you know that. She does not represent the property owner. My firm represents the property owner. Jamie has done nothing but summarize the facts objectively and accurately. And we don't see that summarization as being slanted in one way or another. And I just wanted to say that for the record. So in response to some of the comments that we've heard today, with respect to the Kent Recycling Center, we were here about a year ago, I think it was September of last year, and presented to the town board our proposal for an easement and a land swap. At that time, representatives of the Kent Recycling Center were here and did voice their concerns. We heard those concerns, met with them on site after that meeting, in addition to with Ms. Campbell. And specific revisions to the easement agreement were made in response to those concerns. Those revisions, we see this as really an opportunity to improve the operations at the Kent Recycling Center. We don't want this to be a burden or an impediment to the recycling center in any way. Some of the ways in which we've proposed to improve operations at the recycling center are to improve access, including a possible queue lane, landscape screening from the easement area, and also a secondary means of ingress and egress. And those 3 points are specifically laid out in the easement agreement as factors that must be considered if and when a development proposal comes before the Kent Planning Board. And to the point that has been raised many times in this discussion, both back in September and this morning, there is a rigorous review process that will have to be undertaken by the eventual developer of this property. The current property owner is not a developer. He's He's just the owner. He does not intend to develop this property himself. He's trying to market the property to a developer for the eventual construction of improvements on the property. So if and when that development comes forward, all of these factors for improving the operations of the Kent Recycling Center will have to be undertaken by the Kent Planning Board. At that time, DEP will be involved, DEC will be involved, all of the agencies that have any regulatory approval over any aspect of the project at that time will be involved in this process. The second point I want to respond to is the point about benefits to the town. We see this as being beneficial to the town because of one of the points raised by a member of the public about increased property value. The property value of this property will very likely increase as a result of this easement agreement to provide access. That's going to result in increased tax revenue. It's also going to provide an opportunity for economic development and jobs within the town. So we see all of that as being positives for the town. In addition to that, with respect to the land swap, the town is receiving from Sunbury several acres of land directly behind Town Hall. There's a land swap, so some of Town Hall property will be given to Sunbury. Sunbury will give some property to the town, but there's a net increase of about 2 acres for the town as a result of that land swap. With respect to the access given by Sunbury to the town, that a reference that one of the members of the public made previously, that is with respect to an offer by Sunbury to provide access to the new property to be acquired by the town from Sunbury for ease of access to that property. And then lastly, with respect to public hearing, a public hearing is not required for this action by the town board, as I'm sure your council can advise you of that as well. However, there has been very robust public comment, both last year when we came before the town board and also obviously this morning. This matter has also been the subject of public meetings at the county level as well. I know Ms. Campbell had attended at least one of those meetings. So there has been opportunity for public comment. We have heard that public comment and we've responded through revisions to the easement agreement. So again, I thank you very much for your time this morning, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
If there are none, I'd like to go ahead and speak. This obviously has been a challenge for me because the recycling center is near and dear to my heart. I've been a member since it opened, pretty much. Not a volunteer yet, but they have me on the docket for when I retire from my full-time job. And I've been on the Conservation Advisory Committee. I was until I was elected to town board for over a decade. So I also have been quite involved early on in trying to make sure that the easement has wording that is protective of the center because, oh, by the way, George, those things hanging down from the ceiling are supposed to be acoustical improvements. They don't help enough, but they do help somewhat. I did get involved in trying to make sure that the wording in the easement is protective for the center, because the original easement that was passed last time had a clause that said there was no impact on the recycling center, and that was changed. So there are improvements to traffic flow at the recycling center that could possibly be made as part of that. Lately, I've found that being there close to closing time gets pretty wild with the looping through and people not always following the one way and so forth. So there might actually be the potential to address some of those issues if and when a development project does go through. With respect to the driveway access and the nature of that wetland, I would think that adding a second separate driveway, as John proposed, would actually have the greater impact on the wetland, because then you're talking about yet another incursion as opposed to being able either to use the existing culvert or having to possibly expand and widen the road, which would mean a longer culvert. If and when that were done, we could ensure that the culvert is placed in the manner that is recommended to prevent habitat disruption. So when you have a culvert that just kind of loops down, it interrupts the ability of different species to go through. You either have to use a box culvert or set it more deeply, so that might actually be able to be improved as part of that. But adding a second driveway, I think, would be detrimental to the environment. The other point I want to make is the possible benefit of this land swap to the town. The question is, what would happen with this acreage that is now adjacent to this complex and also accessible through the recycling driveway? I think Howard made a really important point, and George made it here today, that the easement, the original ability to put in that road was granted by DEC because there was a clear environmental benefit to having the recycling center. One of our goals in the Climate Smart Task Force is to implement food waste recycling. And it has become abundantly clear that the Kent Recycling Center does not have the space or capacity for that operation. That would be, in a sense, a voluntary transfer program for food waste. We also don't really have a place for yard waste composting right now. And we are no longer able to use the old dump on Rescue Street for that, the landfill. All of the material that was dumped there over the years is having to be removed at town expense by our highway department to correct that violation. So we need a place for that waste to go. So my sense was perhaps this acquired acreage would be a place to have those two operations, yard waste composting and transfer of food scraps, which in turn will reduce costs for the garbage pickup at recycling, but would be a benefit for all members of the town who want to participate in that program and help to reduce greenhouse gases and the overfilling of our landfills. So given that there's a potential benefit, in my mind, that kind of starts to counterbalance the fact that there would be commercial traffic going over this roadway. So those are a couple of the points that I wanted to make. Also, with respect to notification, Sue, I did not know that this was going to be on the agenda until the same moment that you did, or I would have been in touch with you earlier. I'm wondering if my town board members, colleagues would consider postponing the vote on this until a future meeting to allow more time for the public to respond. Even though there has been a lot of notice and there has been a lot of comment already, this happened very quickly. So I would like to propose that we postpone a vote on this until perhaps the next meeting. I think that's all I have.
I guess my only comments, and they're pretty minimal, is this is, I believe since I've been on the town board, the second proposal for this easement. One of them kind of fell apart a few years ago. I think the whole town board, with old members and new members, one of their main concerns has always been the impact on the recycling center. We keep that first and foremost on what's going to happen, while at the same time trying to balance what's good for the town, for our tax base and our future growth, and how we can balance those two. A lot of the questions that came out today, as I'm hearing them, I'm the liaison for the planning board, and I realize that a lot of those questions are questions that get vetted out through the planning board process, and even though you're asking us for the answers to them, until a proposal comes in front of the planning board and they work through those details, we don't know those answers any more than anybody else. And from what I understand, this is the step that needs to take place in order for a proposal to come to the planning board so that we can get to those answers. And we can, so I had one more question, because I think one of the, maybe Mrs. Boyd asked if there's a chance. Obviously Sunbury's doing a land swap here, but if a developer comes in and proposes a development for that property, does the town have another opportunity there to say, hey, the town could, as part of your development, can they offer something to the town again after this process is all done? A new developer comes through. And I say that because there was a development years ago when I first got on the town board, and Bill Houston was trying to get land for a recreation center through a development process. But it wasn't this simple where it's just trying for the sale of the land. That was like working with a developer. It never materialized and we never came into fruition. But it, you know, sticks in my head that there was that talk going back and forth.
I mean, if a developer is opening to a different donation of land, then of course that conversation can happen. There are, I don't know what the other development was, but there are certain requirements for open land in large residential developments that might have been part, like play areas and things like that, recreation areas, that might have been part of
I'm not sure of the details myself.
Yeah, but I mean, the conversation can always be had depending upon who owns the property. They don't have an obligation to do anything, but of course, you know, if it's something that's beneficial to everyone, that those conversations can always happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so my question would be about the infrastructure of the culvert that's there now. I tried to look for an as-built on it and could not find one. I just found like a proposed build for it. So I went down there, looked at it. It's 60 foot wide. It's made of concrete, 7 inches in thick. I can't tell whether it's reinforced with rebar in it. It's oval, heavily oval shape, which is what you would use when you cannot dig deep into the ground, because obviously there's bedrock there. But the width of it was required for the amount of flow that would come through, like during a storm like now. Oval is also the weakest shape you could potentially use there. So I would love to see an as-built, as it is, and what the potential is for that bridge for commercial traffic. Is it capable of it? Does that construction have a weight limit to it? What's it now, 20 years that recycling's been in there?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, but again, that goes back to the planning board process.
Mm-hmm.
They have to make sure and ensure that whatever's planned to go in there, that's going to hold it. So that'll get vetted out for whatever future uses are planned for the property.
So
We're
if
just
it's
doing
not-
the easement. This
I get
has
it.
nothing to do.
But if it's not capable of commercial traffic as it sits, then it's really a moot point to give them permission for commercial traffic.
well-
At that point, they could move up the street or put in their own if they have to go back to the start and run all the permitting through the DEC and whatnot.
Right, part of the development proposal would be to ensure that either as it exists or in a proposed condition, that it can handle the traffic that would be generated by the commercial development on the Sunbury property. So you're probably right that as it exists now, it may not be able to handle the commercial traffic that would be associated with that development, but it would be the developer's responsibility to make improvements to make sure that it does accommodate that, and that would have to go through the same processes through the DEP, the DEC, through the town, to make sure that that's being done in an environmentally responsible way. I know Rick was tapping my shoulder. He wanted to mention something as well.
Thank you. If I may, my name is Richard O'Rourke. I'm with Keenan Bean as well. And I was involved with the Clancy application, I guess it was 5 years ago, and then I understand there was a subsequent application as well. I think the board understands what this application's about, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands that when a proposal comes forward, that developer will have to go through the entire secret process. And as we know, and you know, that requires any development proposal. Before any approval, you must demonstrate that you have addressed all of the environmental factors, environmental considerations, and you have mitigated them to the maximum extent practicable. That environmental review process is exhaustive. The issue is that's not here now. All this is doing is providing an opportunity for that to happen. That environmental review process in terms of the impact on a recycling center, the possibility of expansion in terms of the recycling center, the recreational opportunities that may be a factor involved in terms of the analysis of what is the impact of the development of this property. How is that developer addressing all of those impacts to the maximum extent practicable? We want to get there. I think you want to get there. You'll have that opportunity. And the last thing in the world that any developer is going to do is negatively impact the recycling center. That is the last thing. We know that. Representatives were at the Putnam County Legislative meeting when the board unanimously consented to allow this to go forward. That is the opportunity for the town. This is not a detriment. And again, once that secret process commences through the environmental review process before the planning board, the town board, the zoning, all of that is something that nothing will happen until every environmental impact has been mitigated to the maximum extent practicable. And I just want to make sure everyone understands that. That's what this is about. That's it. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for saying that, because I think that's, we need to focus on what's in front of us right now, and that after this, there's still all, the agencies that they have to go through, the planning board, there's many steps after this. This isn't guaranteeing what's going up there, there's a lot of other things that need to fall into place.
We have no clue what's
Yes.
proposed to go up.
No.
Anything else? Good. Councilman Campbell had a motion to push this vote off.
You're right, I make that motion to postpone the vote until the next meeting.
I second it.
That's our, so just so everybody knows, our next meeting is not televised. It's a special daytime meeting on the 20,
Oh, it's daytime on the 29th?
right? That's our next meeting.
I'm not here that day, so that was left up to your decision if you wanted a daytime or a nighttime meeting.
We can do it to the 2nd, or the 5th.
You want to postpone till the 5th, which will be an regular evening meeting televised? So I make that motion?
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Better roll call.
Oh, yeah, can we roll call, please?
Councilwoman Campbell,
Aye.
Councilman Tempori,
Nay.
Councilman Ruthven,
Nay.
Councilman Boyd,
Aye.
Supervisor McGlasson.
No.
Motion is not carried.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
I make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute access easement and maintenance agreement. Whereas the town board of the town of Kent has received a proposed access easement and maintenance agreement for Sunbury Properties LLC, showing a proposed easement upon and across premises shown on the tax map of the town of Kent as 22.1-23-2 town parcel, and whereas Sunbury is the owner of the parcel of land located in the town of Kent, shown on the tax map of the town of Kent as 22.1-21 grantee parcel, and whereas said access easement and maintenance agreement would grant Sunbury and any present or future owners of the grantee parcel permission to gain access to the grantee parcel for the development of the parcel, including without limitation the construction and installation of all improvements necessary or convenient thereto, and conducting its business thereon, ingress to and egress from the grantee parcel from and to New York State Route 52, and for the installation, use, repair, replacement, and maintenance of utility lines and appurtenances, that's a good one, upon, over, under, and across a certain portion of the town parcel, and whereas the said access easement and maintenance agreement would obligate Sunbury and any present or future owner of the grantee parcel to maintain the easement area granted therein, whereas the county of Putnam, the county granted and conveyed the town parcel to the town of Kent by a deed dated December 12, 1990, and recorded in the Putnam County Clerk's Office on December 18, 1990, the county deed, and in said deed the county reserved a right-of-way and easement across the town parcel, granted a right-of-way and easement to the town across the town parcel, and created a reversionary interest for its benefit, providing that the town parcel shall revert to the county in the event that the town parcel is used to provide a right-of-way or other access to any lands other than those owned by the county without the county's express written consent, or in the event that the town parcel is used for other than a public purpose and benefit. Whereas by resolution number 163 of 2023 of the Putnam County Legislature, the County of Putnam Legislature assented to and approved the access easement and maintenance agreement, and resolved that this resolution is, no, that's the wrong one, I jumped on to a different one. And whereas the town board wishes to grant the easement memorialized by the access easement and maintenance agreement, now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute the access easement and maintenance agreement of all other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof and in such form as is satisfactory to the town planner and town attorney, and be it further resolved that this resolution is subject to permissive referendum as provided by New York State town law. I make this motion.
Second.
May we have roll call?
Councilwoman Campbell,
Abstain.
Councilman Tempori,
Aye.
Councilman Ruthven,
Aye.
Councilman Boyd,
No.
Supervisor McGlasson,
Yes.
motion carried.
I have to do this one.
Another one?
Yep, this is the memorandum of understanding.
I make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a memorandum of understanding, whereas the town board of the town of Kent has received a proposed memorandum of understanding from Sunbury Properties LLC concerning the contemplated development by Sunbury or a successor in interest to Sunbury of the parcel of land located in the town of Kent shown on tax map of the town of Kent as 22.1-21 grantee parcel, and whereas Sunbury is the owner of the grantee parcel, and whereas in consideration of a certain easement granted by the town to Sunbury pursuant to the access easement and maintenance agreement considered and approved in conjunction herewith, the town and Sunbury have discussed and desired to confirm that in the event Sunbury or its successor in interest to the grantee parcel proceeds with development of the grantee parcel, the town of Sunbury or the successor in interest with each convey and exchange portions of their respective parcels to the other as described in the memorandum of understanding, and Sunbury or its successor in interest will grant to the town an access easement over the town parcel to be conveyed to Sunbury or its successor in interest for access to the existing town center property. Whereas Sunbury desires to confirm his obligation to incorporate the land exchange and access easement into any design plan for the development of the grantee parcel, and its agreement and understanding that site plan approval for any such development will be subject to the conditioned upon the delivery to the town of a fully executed deed to the portion of the grantee parcel to be exchanged in a fully executed access easement. Whereas the town board wishes to authorize the town supervisor to execute the memorandum of understanding, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes and directs the supervisor to execute the memorandum of understanding and all other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof and in such form as is satisfactory to the town attorney, and be it further resolved that this resolution is subject to permissive referendum as provided by New York State law. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Abstain.
Councilman Tempori,
Aye.
Councilman Ruthven,
Yes.
Councilman Boyd,
No.
Supervisor McGlasson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. I think before we move on to vouchers, we should just talk about the special meeting and get,
I just want to say thank you so much for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. We should talk about what time you want to have the meeting and everything, so we can announce it now.
So the special meeting is just to further along the extension of the mining moratorium, correct?
Yes.
So unless,
I will have 2 hires that day. Fingers crossed.
okay. That's up to the board.
Okay, there will
Gentlemen,
probably
what's
be,
your availability?
there will probably be 2 employments also on that.
I think I'm pretty open that day. I can
I
double
just want to
check.
get this set
You know
now.
me, I'm always around.
Jorma, you've started work already?
Well, no, I'll have football practice. I can get out of football practice.
What
that's
time
not
is
an
football
issue.
practice?
In the morning and in the
Oh.
in the evening.
Oh.
It's double sessions, so, I mean, I can work around it, so whatever's more convenient for you guys, I'll figure it out.
It's up to you. I can do it.
I'm easy.
I'm open also.
All right, let's just do in the evening, 7 o'clock meeting.
Okay, do you want it televised? Because we have Paul here right now, so we can ask him if he can televise. So on that special meeting, I would normally call you and ask you this, of August 29th, they want to have it at 7. Can you televise it? Okay, thank you. Okay,
All right.
everyone's good? Okay, so that meeting will be August 29th at 7 PM. Right now, you can do vouchers.
Okay. I ask the board to approve the following vouchers for August 17th, 2023. Aquarius Capital Solutions Group, $5,000 for GASB 75. Barton and LaJudas, $8,510 for water system PFOA. Semco, $3,342.76 for Water District Number 1 monthly operations. Cornerstone, $3,500 for stormwater excavation law. F.I. Adams Incorporated, $18,200 for rock drilling and $20,000 for excavator. Global Montello Group, $5,503 for gas, $4,327.20 for diesel. Goosetown Communications, $24,300 for radio systems for their semi-annual billing. Hogan and Rossi, $5,416.63 for legal services for August. Magnify MS, $7,288.77 for network services. Nicomco, $2,972 for communication system for the police. New York State Department of Civil Service, $239,163.29 for health insurance for August. PFKO Connor Davies, $28,650 for audit services. Laura Roberts, $2,475 for the prosecutor for June. Summit Bobcat, $6,551.59 for equipment parts and $3,574.88 for equipment parts. Tifco Industries, $4,393.13 for truck parts. Transaxle, $4,447.53 for truck parts. Wind Waste, $11,531.99 for Lake Carmel garbage. And Ann gave me an add-on for the recycling center garbage of $6,481.09. I ask the board to approve as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have a couple of announcements. On Saturday, October 7th, there will be the 12th annual event to honor Caitlin Rose Savio at Kiwi Country Day Camp. Tennis, mini golf, jumping pillows, basketball courts, gaga, boating fields, and face painting for a $10 donation. If you need further information, you can call 845-222-6098.
What's Gaga? I know Lady Gaga.
It's a big, like, walled-in area, and that you just keep hitting the ball, and if you get hit, it's kind of like dodgeball, but in a smaller enclosed space. It's very dangerous. Someone always gets hurt. Always my daughter. Our soccer program will be starting soon, starting in September to November, ages 2 all the way up to 12 years old. You can go on our website for more information. We do have a deadline of September 1st to sign up for soccer. And also, we have our favorite program, our most popular, Tactical Laser Tag, will be starting again in the fall. Any information, you can go to the website, get on there fast, because spots fill up incredibly quickly. And that's all I have for right now.
I have a few, as always. So for the library, this Monday, the 21st at 6 o'clock, there's another lecture on cosmology, the fate of the universe. That's at 6 at the library or via Zoom. And the Pause to Read program with the therapy dog, who looks like an absolutely adorable golden retriever at the library, is going to be, there's one more session this coming August 23rd from 4 to 5 o'clock. A couple other things. The natural resources inventory that the town KCAC has been developing with Hudsonia is up on the town website on the main page. We are still accepting comments from the public, feedback about the document. If you have some time to read through it, please do, and email us your comments. We're going to try to get it over to the publisher and put it in final form with all of the beautiful photographs that many residents have donated to us early in September. So please do take a look at the NRI. Also, an important grant update. New York Forward is due again in end of September, and we do plan to make another attempt to obtain this vital funding that would help to revitalize our downtown area, help us with transportation and getting parking and improving all of our facilities in what we think of as the downtown corridor along Route 52, 311, Towners Road. That's the area we've kind of identified, centering around the lake, arts on the lake, and so forth. And an important part of obtaining that grant is to show community engagement and involvement. So we're going to try to set up some mechanisms by which all of you can give us input about what should go into that application. I think we're having Community Day on September 10th, correct? So that will be ninth. So we'll be tabling there. That will be one opportunity. And I think we're going to see if we can get the supervisor to allow some town board meeting time for that kind of feedback and comment. That's going to be crucial. We didn't get it last time, but we're not giving up. So thank you for your help with that, and we'll be back in touch about details. I think that's all I have.
Oh, well said.
Okay. Public comment?
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Getz Upsfeld. I'm the, I live at Old Forge Drive in this town, and I'm the president of the Sagamore Lake Community Association. We're a lake community of about 75 homes just off Route 301. We've been meeting with the highway supervisor, Richie Othmer, for about the past year to try to deal with some of the traffic issues around our lake community. We have two roads that surround our lake, and and we have lots of people walking around our lake on the roads, pedestrians with walking dogs, kids, people. It's such an attractive route. It's a circular route around the lake that people from all over Kent come to our neighborhood and park their cars and walk their dogs and their kids. And so there are really two roads that surround our lake. One is Old Forge Drive, which is a dirt road, and the other is Sagamore Drive, which is a paved road. Recently it was repaved by the town. We really appreciate it because it was pothole filled. But as the unintended consequence of repaving Sagamore Drive is that cars that drive on that road don't even realize how fast they're going. And so it's been a real concern because sometimes there are more walkers than there are cars on that road. And so it's a real concern for people that are walking. And so we've been meeting with the highway department, with Richie Othmer, about ways of dealing with it. And one approach that was came up with was based on some new legislation that was passed by the state of New York last July in 2022. And that allowed towns like the town of Kent to reduce the speed limit on certain roads to 25 from 30. As you may know, all of the roads in the town of Kent have this minimum speed limit of 30 miles an hour, but this new legislation allows the town to reduce the speed limit on certain roads to 25. And we think our roads qualify. They're called area speed limits. So Mr. Othmer reached out to the State Department of Transportation and the County Transportation Department, and the response, and I'll just read you two sentences that was in part of the State Department of Transportation response to Mr. Othmer. If the town of Kent wishes to have the area speed limit reduced on certain roads, the town may send an official request in the form of a town resolution, along with a TE9A form, to the Putnam County Commissioner of Highways and Facilities. If the county concurs with the request, the county will forward the request to DOT. At the time the paperwork is received, New York State DOT will initiate a speed study for the area speed limit. So this is really an introductory remarks asking what we should be doing or what the town could be doing to pass that resolution so that we can get the process started. It's not a guarantee. We know that the area speed limit can be reduced, that we meet the qualifications that the state legislation has created for this area speed limit, but we'd like to get the process started. And that really means a board resolution and a submission of really a 2 or 3 sentence form, this TE9A form, to the county, so that the county can then consider it. And by the way, this would not really cost this town any funds, because the traffic study that has to be done as part of this would be done by either the county or the state or both. I'm really looking for feedback as to how to go about getting this resolution before the board and passed, so we can start the process of possibly reducing the speed limit on our roads.
So we can put it on the agenda for the September 5th board meeting?
No, I think the board, we don't have any issue with it.
Do you guys want to vote on it?
No, in fact, I'm thinking there are probably other neighborhoods in the town where we might want to do the same thing.
My mind's turning on that right now, on a whole bunch of lakes that probably could be affected by this, but you can be our guinea pig, I guess. And I think if the board's in approval, we'll ask to have a resolution drafted for our next board meeting.
Well, that's what I was saying, September.
The September one, not the next one.
Yeah, the September 5th board meeting will have, it'll be put on the agenda, and we'll have the resolution ready, and we'll vote on it on that day.
That would be fantastic. I will be out of town, but we'll certainly have some members of our board here to speak to it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
If I just may say something that, so the speed limit's 35 now?
I'm sorry,
It's
what?
35,
30.
35 the speed limit?
30, yeah.
And you want to bring it down to?
25.
25. So I was, you say locks are for honest people, right? Like padlocks, right? They keep honest people out. Speeding signs are for people who would obey them. So the tough part is really enforcement, right? To get the people to slow down.
Right.
I went down to Traffic Stop, which is a company right here in Kent that makes, road signs and stuff like that. It's like 10 grand to get one of those signs that has the radar on it, tells you what your speed is. And I talked to Rich Offbar. I think that some of our signs that you may know already have that ability, that you can put them out there, like just mobile signs, right? You just place them around, let people know what's going on. I know I talked to Jamie and Kevin, and we're going to try to work on some crackdown, particularly for the first couple of weeks of school, and notify everybody and, try to set a mentality for it. I don't think dropping the speed limit's going to, do much to slow people down, or at least the people that we want to slow down.
Right, if the town was willing to put up one of those radar signs that says speed limit 25, your speed, and then with radar it would indicate the speed. That would be a good reminder to people to slow down, the folks that really are not trying to speed but don't realize that they're going through a residential area and really need to slow down.
That's the
so
downside.
That'll be great.
That's the downside of brand new blacktop, that you don't realize how fast you're going.
That's right.
Potholes do have a benefit sometimes.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks. Nature speed bumps.
Yeah. Kathy, that's got my mind turning for Lake Carmel, around the lake.
So I just wanted to ask, Sue brought it up earlier. She was notified at 2 o'clock. I got off a plane from North Carolina at 4 o'clock yesterday and found out about this meeting. The town has always been consistent on having evening meetings. We are a bedroom community. Most of our people work during the day. They either work Westchester, the city, or even north to Dutchess. And we always come together for our meetings at night. I don't mind workshops. I think if you guys want to do workshops during the day, which are non-voting meetings, you get your answers from people that in the community or work for the town or the county that are working, and they come in and fill in. But I think any voting meeting should be held during the time where we We have always historically had time. People can attend the meetings. I know people that I reached out to that wanted to attend me, but we actually have work. We need to make a living so that we can pay the people that work for us, that live here. So, let's go back to evening meetings. And also, because of the short notice, the concern about extending the moratorium, I am sure a few months ago at a meeting, Nancy was asked if we needed to extend the moratorium, and she didn't think we needed to. So that also but I didn't have time to go back through all the tapes and look so I could quote you an exact date. So these abrupt meetings, all it does is I said something to someone today in the office at work, and they're like, oh, the town's being sneaky. That's what it looks like you're doing, and I know you're not. I know you folks really want to do the best for the town, but the appearance you get of these short-term things that aren't laid out, because you can't expect people to go to town website every week and say, what are we doing this week? They're used to your normal meetings, and I'd really request that for voting meetings, we go back to the evening meetings. Thank you.
So the second meeting in August is always a daytime meeting?
It always has been
It
traditional.
always has been, but it always has traditionally been a meeting that all you did was sign vouchers. You didn't do any major town business. And that's why this time, it's just, nothing other than the vouchers was important that couldn't have been put off. When we had a public hearing regarding the soil and excavation law, that's when we should have talked about if we needed a public hearing on the moratorium extension. None of this was needed today.
Right, but let's address that, because we didn't
that's-
think we needed an extension either.
That was actually one of the comments that we received was a request to extend it for an additional written comment time. So we were just trying to accommodate that as one of the requests that came in. We thought originally that our timeline was not going to need that, but.
And that's why we were televised today.
One of the requests.
But I'm sorry, go back to your attorney. She should have said to you, you're not going to make the time frame.
Well, without that, if it hadn't been for that request to extend the time, they would have made the time frame, and that is why at that time, everyone believed that they were on track to get the soil and excavation done and not need to extend the mining moratorium.
See, I was at that public hearing. We poked enough holes in that they needed more time. So that's when it should have been done.
That it? I make a motion to go to executive session to discuss potential litigation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.